Hello, class. This is Demetrius Wilson. We are now on Chapter 7 for marketing, consumer behavior. Very important. We are all consumers. Even if you make purchases in a B2B or business to business nature, you are still a consumer because you're a human being. You need food, you need water, and things of that nature. So this is a chapter that's important to marketing, important to business, but it's also important to you as an individual consumer. Our learning outcomes for the chapter are describe the stages of consumer buying process, right? What stages do you go through? What stages do I go through before we make a purchase? Maybe my stage is a little bit shorter because I get agitated in the grocery store. Maybe you take your time and look for the best deal. Explain the different buying processes for low involvement and high involvement decisions. It'll take you a little bit more time to decide on which stove to buy versus which soda to buy at the counter in the grocery store. Describe the major factors that influence consumers' purchasing decisions, and explain the business to business. Anytime you see B2B, that means business to business buying process and key factors influencing business to business purchasing decisions. So this is pictures worth 1,000 words. Gotta love the pictures. These are in your textbook as well. This is the exchange process. So on the right side, or the left side, you have the buyer. On the right side, you have the seller. In between, you have equally exclusive relationship because right in the middle, the buyer has needs, wants, and trade-offs, right? So what are your needs? It's probably a product or a service. Same with wants. But the seller, they have needs and wants and trade-offs too. And what is their need? They need revenue. They need cash from you to continue on with their business. So on the buyer side, you need the value and you need what the product does or the service does for you. And what are you willing to exchange? You're willing to exchange money, time, credit, and labor, right? So your labor is your time. So you go to work so that you can make money, and you make money so that you can purchase goods for your family. Now, on the other end, you have the seller and their value. They have their product or service, right? And so you give them money, and they in exchange give you their product and or service. And experience, idea, things of that nature, right? So, like I said, pictures worth 1,000 words. So it's always pretty good just to kind of see things from both sides. And like I said, you could be on both sides of the coin depending upon what your job is. You could be a buyer and a normal consumer, but then also a seller depending upon where you work. Key questions, always important. Two of them are a marketer needs to answer related questions related to buyer behavior. And so question number one is, how do potential buyers go about making purchasing decisions, right? So if you know their 1, 2, 3, 4 step process in terms of what they look at, what they decide, if they have to talk to their spouse, then you know how to handle the sales process. What factors influence their decision process and why, and in what way are the things that their friends are saying? Does that affect things? Things that are posted on Yelp, does that affect their decision? You have to know these things before you go into marketing towards individuals. So external and internal factors. This is a really good picture because you have your external stimuli, and then you have your internal stimuli, and then you have your actual response, which is the end result. So external factors, you have your marketing mix. So you have your price, your product, your place, and your promotion, of course. And then environmental, you have economic, right? So if it's external factors, it could be that their price is rising. Technological, so it could be that technology is changing. Could be political. Could be that, hey, I'm from this specific party, so we don't purchase this. Could be cultural. I live in this neighborhood and we do purchase these. Demographic could be because I'm a male, so I purchase this, and you're a female and you don't. And also situational, depends on the things that you need. Now, a black box, which is also mentioned in the textbook, this is the buyer's actual mind. So these are internal factors. So these are beliefs and your attitudes that definitely shapes what you buy. Your values, knowledge, motives, perceptions, lifestyle. So if your lifestyle is of clean living, then you're buying vegan products and, things that are for vegetarians. That's your lifestyle. That's what you would purchase. But if I only eat beef and pork, and, not worried about those things, then that's not my lifestyle, so I wouldn't make those purchases. In the decision-making process, you have problem solving, right? Is it solving a problem for you? Information search, alternative evaluation, your purchase, your post-purchase, your evaluation, right? So you go through all these different steps. So you have your before you purchase it, you're obviously doing your research. Then you purchase it. You have your post-purchase evaluation to see if that's something that you'll continue to purchase, and then you make your additional moves from there. And your responses are all the way on the right side. So if you purchase a product, a brand, source, amount, method of payment, or you don't purchase it, right? So, you have to think about those things too. What's your method of payment? Is it cash? Is it credit? Is it a check? So for instance, I have a couple of, treadmills that are, exercise equipment. And I was explaining to a friend of mine that I said, well, if your credit's good, then they're going to give it to you and you just have to pay this amount for the next 18 months. And you don't have to give them all the money up front. So what's the purpose of you giving $2,000 up front if you can just give $100 a month? Because remember, you have opportunity costs. If you could take that $1,100 and you could keep it in the bank, then it's probably, worth more to you by doing that or going in that direction as opposed to just taking all the money, even if you have it up front and then giving it to them for the treadmill. Decision-making process. So this is the consumer side. Later on, you'll see the business-to-business side, but you have a need recognition. You can put need/want recognition because everything that we purchase we don't necessarily need. Information searching and processing, right? So now I'm looking for information, most likely on the internet, browsing, figuring out, is it something I truly want, looking at people's results, and we can stick with the treadmill example. Number 3, identification and evaluation of alternatives. Do I want this cheaper brand? Do I want the more expensive brand? Is it going to last longer? Things of that nature. Number 4, your purchase decision. I've decided to buy the X9634-9er, right? So I've decided to buy it. And then number 5, my post-purchase behavior, right? Do I say, hey, I really love this and tell everybody else they should buy it as well, which I did with the actual treadmill that I got? Or do I attempt to send it back? Do I post negative reviews on their site, negative reviews on Yelp, Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere else, right? So these are your consumer decision-making process that we all go through, and you may, spend a little bit more time in number 2 than I do, and I may spend a little bit more time in number 3 than you do, but we all go through similar processes. Pertinent questions that you have to ask: how much effort is a consumer willing to spend in shopping for the product? Right? If they have to spend too much effort, if they say this is how much effort I can spend 80% of effort, and your product requires 90% of effort, then you're not going to be able to make the appropriate amount of sales. What factors influence when the consumer will actually make the purchase, right? Is the price, right? So for instance, if they said the only way that you could purchase a treadmill is if you gave us $2,000 up front, maybe that might have affected my decision. Now I actually had the money to pay for it up front, but what if you didn't? And what if I didn't? Then that would affect my decision if they didn't approve me for the credit. Are there any conditions that would prohibit or delay the purchase, right? So for instance, if you're, an escrow for a house, would you probably hold off on purchasing a new car? You probably would. You say, hey, let's get the house, out of the way. Let's get that straightened out. Then we can work on the car, and even vice versa, right? So if you're in the process of getting a car, we'll wait and then we'll look for a house and make sure our finances are straight. Influencing factors. So situational factors pertain to the consumer's level of involvement in a buying task and the market offerings that are available, right? So how involved are you in the process? Or maybe you're not involved at all. Some processes, I'm just like, I'm not really too worried about it. Personal factors are individual characteristics and traits such as age, life stage, economic situation, and personality, right? So economic situation, if you don't have the money to purchase it, right, you need to be smart, not live without your means, and you make the appropriate purchase. Individual characteristics, maybe I just take my time in terms of making bigger purchases and it takes me longer, and you just walk into the store and say, hey, that's the microwave that I want. Let's go. Psychological factors relate to the consumer's motivation, learning, socialization, attitudes, and beliefs, right? Think about your different beliefs. If you're not somebody who pushes education, it's highly unlikely that you'll buy educational toys for your children, or that you'd work with them to complete scholarship applications and things so that they could go to school. Social factors pertain to the influence of culture, social class, family, and reference groups, right? So you think about things in your community, in your culture, that may be marketed because traditionally those are things that you use or things that you consume as opposed to other communities. This is what we just read over, but just nice, pretty form. So about the influencing factors. So like I said, situational factors, personal factors, Psychological factors and social factors are all right there. If you want to pause the video and stop right there and look at it, because the picture's a lot prettier. And then, your process is right down there with your need recognition all the way down to your purchase decision, your post-purchase decision as well. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this in prior business classes. It's a pyramid and it says like, if these needs down here are not met, then you can't have these needs met. So physiological needs are needs like I need food, water, shelter, right? If you don't have food, water, and shelter, you're not going to be worrying about money, because the money's not going to do anything for you. And the example I always give people, if we were on a deserted island like Gilligan's Island and you had $1 trillion, right? But we can't get off the island. In essence, how much is your $1 trillion worth? It's not worth anything. It's worth you putting it in the fire so that the fire can burn a little bit more so we could be warm. But there's nothing for you to spend the money on. So in essence, it's not worth anything. So, like I said, if you're worried about, food, water, shelter, you're not going to be worrying about anything else. But once you have those things resolved, then you go to safety and security. You're worried about, being in a nice neighborhood, make sure people don't break into your car, break into your house. You get to love and belonging, right? So these are these needs of, having somebody there, to share a relationship, whether it be, a relationship with a, spouse or significant other, or just be strictly platonic. Self-esteem needs, you want to feel good about yourself and what you're doing, in your profession and in your personal, life. And then self-actualization is actually, that's like you're crossing your legs, holding your fingers and levitating moment where you've reached your full potential. And that's, highly unlikely for most of us. I'm sure some people do, and have throughout history. I know I definitely am not at that point, but we should strive for that, even though it's something that's highly unlikely. Social classes, also pause on this one if you want to check it out, but it is in your textbook as well. But there are different social classes in America. You see what the upper class is. It's about 1%. It's not that many people. You have heirs, meaning people with money's been passed down to them in businesses as well. Celebrities, top corporate executives. They make $500,000 plus in income, and they have elite education in common, whether they went to school and that's why they made a lot of money, or they went to school and then their, children, were able to get a great education because they have a lot of money. Upper middle class is about 15% of America. So you have managers and professionals, about $100,000 plus in income, highly educated, college and graduate degrees are likely, right? Lower middle class, 32% skilled contractors, craftspeople, artisans, semi-professionals, autonomy and work environment common, so 35,000 to 75,000 in income. Some college training, secondary education likely. I'll let you, focus on and read working class and lower class as well. So what you basically have to do is say, where do I want to be? Now, of course you may not be here or the upper class, even if you say you want to be. But you can definitely dictate to get to like a upper middle class in terms of utilizing your education, get the right type of job, and moving up the ladder and strive towards the things that are best. Ideally, hopefully, we all end up here, right? But what I know is under our control. You can definitely make your way here. And that's what we should strive for. And, a lot of people say, well, you don't necessarily have to have education to make it there. Well, the percentage dwindles down even more of the people who don't have education within these top two tiers. Business to business marketing and selling. So who will take part in the buying process, right? You have to think about that before you start selling something. What criteria does each person use to evaluate the prospective suppliers? What level of influence does each member of the process have, right? So how influential are you on the process or not? What interpersonal, psychological, or other factors about the decision team might influence in the buying process, right? So could there be conflict? Could I want, this line of bikes and you want this line of bikes to sell, right? We both work for Target. I want to bring in Swins. You want to bring in BMXs. How well do the individuals work together as a group, right? Group dynamics, it can definitely affect the project. And who makes the final decision to buy, right? So are you just the one, that's going through all the motions and then it comes to me and I make the final decision, or do you have the empowerment to make the final decision on your own? This is for organizational buying. These are different stages. Like I said, you saw consumer buying, but this is organizational buying. So it starts with problem recognition. We see that we have a problem. The problem is that, our phones are out of date. Need description. We need new phones to transfer in and out throughout the department. Product specification. We need new phones that have call waiting, conference call, and video aspects. Supplier search. So now we're looking for the different suppliers. Proposal solicitation. So a lot of big companies, they do a RFP or a request for proposal to the bigger companies that they feel like, could get the business, probably, no more than 5. Supplier selection, right? So then you figure out, hey, these are people who we want to select. Let's offer it to them and let's see what they say if they concur. Order routine specification, and then performance review. So after you get everything ordered, set up and everything, then you have a performance review to see if this is a beneficial relationship or if it's not. And that's it for chapter 7. Like I said, these will always be pretty short. Make sure that you complete your chapter 7 quiz and everything else that is due for the week. And we'll be right on to chapter 8. And like I said, things go by very, very fast in this class. It's only, you think that it's long, but by the time you get towards those last couple of weeks, you say, man, this really did fly by. So that's it for chapter 7. Make sure that you complete your quiz and do everything else that's due for the week. And I'll see you at chapter 8. As always, I want you all to have a good day and a great week.